Hello. A few weeks ago I completed building this treehouse behind me. I built it for my kids, and I don't have a lot of building experience, so one of the things that really helped me work on this project get it completed was to watch videos on YouTube of other people who had built tree houses, and I learned a lot of tips along the way, a lot of ways to make it safe and things to avoid and so on, and so I found that really helpful. And so now that I'm done with my project, I thought I would kind of do the same thing, make a video about my thought process. I will tell you how I thought, how I made the decisions that I made a little bit anyway, and then also send some links at the bottom that will tell you maybe some of the videos I found more helpful along the way to help me make a decision one way or the other. So this first video is just the planning process. The planning process involved, really, as I've already mentioned, watch a bunch of YouTube videos, try to settle on between YouTube videos and some Google searches for tree houses. There's all kinds of tree houses out there. Some of them are really just tiny houses up in a tree, and I wasn't going to do anything that nice, but I did want something kind of nice and sturdy that would last a long time. So I settled on this design. This design is honestly just a design from one of the videos that I watched on YouTube. It's a whole lot like that tree house. The main difference is I've attached it just to one tree, and in that video that guy put it between two trees, but more or less it's a quite similar tree house with kind of a building structure and then a little porch on the front. So that's how I came to that decision, was just sort of seeing, I liked the way it looked, and I thought I could do it. It didn't look too hard for me, so that I decided to do that one. One thing you have to decide early on is, as I mentioned, that guy attached it directly to the tree, but a lot of people were saying, no, you're supposed to attach it to the tree by way of bolts. Just put these bolts in the tree, and then when you put the bolts in the tree, then you sort of set your structure on those bolts, and it'll be good for the tree and good for your tree house and all the rest. And initially I wasn't convinced, and so as I planned out this tree house, I didn't I planned to not use the bolts. I planned to just attach it directly to the tree. One of the things that the bolt people tell you is that one of the reasons you need bolts is you need a certain kind of bolt, because maybe if you attach it to two trees, the trees, one might be thicker than the other, and when the wind blows, they'll sway to different amounts, and that will put pressure on your tree house. So don't do that, is what they were saying. And that convinced me, at the very least. I was just going to put it in one tree. That would solve the problem, I thought. I won't need bolts to control two different swaying trees, because I'm just going to put it all on one tree. So that was kind of the reason why I settled on one tree. We had this one large tree. It's about 22 inches in diameter, so I thought it was big enough and strong enough to hold. So that was the plan, just one tree without bolts. The other things I was thinking about was, let's see here, did I want to use nails or screws to hold the whole project together? And ultimately, I didn't have a nail gun, and so I thought I'll just use screws. It looked like some other folks were just using screws, so that's what I was going to do. And at the last minute, a guy from church knew I was working on the project, had a nail gun, said he'd be happy to lend it to me. And then I did use it, and I think that was better. It made things go faster. And so if you know somebody you can borrow it from, or you can find one that's not too expensive, that probably did make the project go faster. You may be wondering how long the project took, not including the planning process, but once I just sort of went out and started attaching the bolts or drilling the holes for the bolts from start to finish. It was about 4 weeks, and I really tried to kind of use most of my free moments for this, so it took a while. And then I had a lot of help. I had sometimes you'll see, because mainly in the future videos, not this one, you'll see a time lapse. That's kind of the way I'm going to show you what I did. You'll see I had a couple friends from church. I had my son at another point in time helping me, and that made the project go faster. So I think last minute, after deciding that I was definitely not going to use bolts, at the very last minute I decided to use bolts, and so you can see that's how I've attached it to the tree. Some people were saying it was better for the tree. Other people were saying that if you attach your treehouse directly to the tree, rain will get caught between, and it'll, your wood on the treehouse will rot at those points earlier than if you had some space for the rain to just run on down and keep the wood, preserve the wood longer. And honestly, I just was kind of going back and forth. I just decided to go ahead and do it. I did. I mean, one of the things in mind, I'm a pastor, and we have a lot of folks over from church to our house, and I wanted to build the treehouse sort of as good as I could, reasonably speaking. And that doesn't mean that I wouldn't have built a sturdy treehouse just for my kids, but knowing that I was going to have kids and then lots of other kids over here, and sometimes perhaps more kids than is a good idea to have in a treehouse, I thought I would just do it the best I could, and I thought maybe the bolts would get me there, but I'll leave it up to you to decide about that. Feel free to comment. I'm sure, again, I'm just a pastor, so there'll be plenty of places for you to say, you could have done a better job here, and I kind of welcome that because I want this to be useful, so feel free to just say, you shouldn't have done this, you should have done that, and that way the video, along with your comments, will make this perhaps a useful video for somebody else who wants to make a treehouse. So when I was all done, I kind of sat down one night and I thought about all the pieces of wood that I needed, and I kind of made out a list, and then I ended up I was planning to go to Home Depot and buy it the next day, and since I was already there and had the list, I just went ahead and ordered it from Home Depot. I think that was a good idea, as a matter of fact. I mean, you could go to Lowe's, you can go to wherever, but sort of ordered it online, and then they could go collect it all for me. And that order, I kind of placed one order, and when I placed that one order, I probably got 90% of the items I needed at that time. I knew that I would probably need to go back and get one or two things here or there, but more or less I got everything then, and that really helped the project go faster. So again, I said the whole build was 4 weeks. Well, you know, I had, you know, about a week in advance, I had done this, and it was all just laying there on the ground next to the tree house, or the tree where I was going to build the tree house. And I think that also, just kind of having most everything there before you get started, made the whole process go a bit quicker. Well, that's kind of it for the planning stage. I hope this video is helpful to you. Keep a watch out for the next 3 videos that will kind of walk through the process. All right, I wanted to end this video by giving you an overview of the project. When I was watching videos about building tree houses, a lot of people in the comments were asking how long did that take, and so I wanted to give you a little bit of an understanding about how long this particular project took. It's worth noting, I think I've already said, I'm a pastor, so I really am not a builder. I don't mainly do a lot of building. I've helped a neighbor with a deck, and I've done some minor things, but this is probably the biggest thing I've taken on. So if you have more experience, it'll take you less time. If you have less experience, you might take a bit longer. On the project itself, I took about 100 hours total. About 8 hours were in my original planning and gathering of materials. That's watching YouTube videos and so on, and then buying materials and picking them up at Home Depot and bringing them here to my house. That is all about 8 hours. I have about the next 89 hours is just the basic labor of it, and that includes me and other people that might have helped me. So if I worked for 3 hours with 2 other guys, then that's 9 hours, and that's how I came up with the 89-hour total figure. And then about 3 hours would be running back to Home Depot to pick up this or that I had forgotten or needed to finish the project. The video itself is going to be in 4 parts. We're looking at part 1 here, and this is the one on the planning and gathering. I'm going to call that day 1 because this is a 13-day build. That's what I'm calling it. I'm just going to say that's day 1 and kind of collapsing that all together. The second video is going to be days 2 through 4, and that's about 29 hours. And in that time period, I'm basically building the platform and the supports, just right here at the bottom, whatever supports it, putting in the bolts and all the rest. That's going to take me about 29 hours. Video 3 will cover days 5 through 9 there. That's going to be about 31 hours. And in that section, I'm just going to build the middle section, the walls, and put on the planks, and put in I put in a little loft in there. That's going to take about 31 hours. And then video 4 will be covering the roof and the ladder. That also took about 29 hours. So that's kind of how the breakdown of how the project played out just in terms of time. And I hope that's helpful for you just in your planning.